I think the positive people would be the one that fits me the best.
Why does the ETNU Spotlight title best introduce your journey?
I think it best introduced my journey just because I tend to have, I don't know how to word this, but I don't like negativity around me. I think being negative or like depressed really like holds you from being able to just go out and do the things that you want to do. So like even in the hospital, when I was in the hospital for this, I'm paralyzed from C5 through 7 incomplete T2. So I have no movement or feeling ever again from like the chest down. And you would think when you lose 90% of your body that you would be depressed. And I was at first, and they even put me on antidepressants and I had no idea I was on. So I wanted to get off of those as fast as I can. I was like, I don't want to be on these. I like, if people are around me and they're in a bad mood, I don't want to be around that because that negativity, that anger, that will feed into me, and then I'm going to slowly become like an angry person. So during this whole incident, if you will, like the whole 4 months of the hospital, it's been 7 years now. So like the whole time, I've just I constantly educate myself. I constantly try to do things that I want to do. I work for myself. I live in a house with myself. I drive myself. I take care of a dog. If I was miserable and depressed and I didn't want to learn how to do all these things, if I didn't have like the energy that I have, people ask me, why don't I motivational speak? And that's because of the energy I give off. I'm just happy. Ask yourself if you're watching this video right now, would you want to be around somebody that's angry or upset, or would you want to be around somebody like me that seems happy, that seems friendly, very approachable, somebody that wants you to do better in life, because I'm somebody that also does better in life. Did that answer the question?
Yes, that's a very nice answer. Thank you. Can you please share your journey to embrace the new you?
So the journey, let's go ahead and let me tell you what happened, and then I guess we'll kind of like give you the cliff notes of the past 7 years. It's not like I'm going to remember all of this, but so what happened is I was 22 at the time, and I was going to a place called the White Buffalo that was a country bar, and my buddies and I went out every Thursday because that was ladies' night. So as a young 22-year-old ex-bartender, that's kind of all I wanted to do at that time. I didn't have any goals or ambitions. I wanted to just go out, have fun, meet girls, and repeat. That's just what young men with no goals in life did. So I was at that place heading to downtown Sarasota, which is nearby from here, and I was hit by a drunk driver. So I was at a red light on a place called Bee Ridge, and the speed limit on this road is 40. That's important because the guy that hit me was doing 80 miles an hour in a 40. So I used to weigh 185. I was a power lifter back then, and I got hit technically. I showed up to the hospital technically Friday the 13th, so that's spooky. And then I was in surgery for a week. My birthday is July 18th. I woke up in ICU dying July 19th. So that was what happened. I was hit by a drunk driver. It could happen to anybody. I'm just another statistic, so it's nothing like cool, like I was like blown up by a grenade in like war. Some girls would be like, oh hell yeah, that's awesome. So that's what happened. Now, during that time of the 4 months that I was in the hospital, this is where, again, I just told you, like, you do have that little like depressive episode, that because everybody, when you lose something or you go through like a traumatic event, so trauma always forces you to go through a cycle of grief. And grieving, I don't know the whole process for us, but I know denial is like the first one. So denial is where a lot of people get depressed and stay depressed, especially when you lose 90% of your body. And for the longest time, I wouldn't say the longest time, but I think like the first maybe month that I was in the hospital, I was on a lot of painkillers. I just was not me because I was so high, I didn't know what was going on. But also when I found out that I was paralyzed and I couldn't walk again, that's when I was kind of like, ooh, I kind of want to kill myself. And I even explained to my mom how I was going to do that. Now, I never touched the gun, never plan on it, because it's not the gun that hurts somebody, it's the person behind the gun. And I love my life too much, even back then, I want to do that. So that was like the first month of the hospital. Now, fast forward to, let's just say 3 up until now. During the hospital, since I was somebody that always worked for myself, I was one of those guys that always knew my life's not going to get better, especially now, if I don't do anything to make it better. So like during PT, because I used to powerlift, I've always been very physical. I played sports, played baseball in high school. I had my mom bring pre-workout to the hospital so I could take that right before PT, because when you lose 40 pounds of muscle in a matter of, I think, a month. I think that's what kept me alive. You have to use your arms to pick your body up. So I make jokes. I'm like, I think, everybody should take steroids if they're paralyzed, because the faster you can get your strength back, the easier your life's going to be. And in the hospital, when I couldn't use anything, I struggled just living everyday life, just because my body was heavier than what I was able to like physically move around on my own. And so once I got out of the hospital, that's when things really, like, I wouldn't say they like got better necessarily, but they did, because I had more freedom as a part of being confined in the hospital. And I made friends with everybody. I used to hang out with the nurses in there. So I had one of the like director or something, I don't know, like she literally like brought me food every day from the cafe downstairs, as opposed to like the garbage that everybody else ate. That's just, that's what happens when you make connections. And so, but I ate the same thing every day. And it's like, dude, I'm in the same bed for 2 months at the time, because it was outpatient therapy, but I see the same people, same stuff every single day. And I had my friends come and see me. I'm very well known around here, so I had people that came and visited me. That was great, but when you're confined to one spot, you don't realize how important having freedom is until you lose it. And this is why a lot of people, like myself included, tend to work for themselves, because while we work double as much, we still get the freedom to do what we want when we want. And once I got out of the hospital, I had my video games back. I could read my books. I had my own room. I could go outside, get sun whenever I wanted without having to ask somebody. I could walk my dogs if I wanted to. Once I got my first car, which at that time was a 2019 3 Series BMW, I taught myself how to get inside of that. And because I watched one guy on YouTube that had a similar injury to mine, very close, but he could use both of his hands. I can't use my left hand. And I can do that, I can't do that. And I'm left hand dominant. That's important, because the way I break my wheelchair down is I have to do it with just one hand. So I literally got to reach across me the whole time. So once I taught myself how to get in my car, then I started driving to the gym every day again. Because again, being someone that used to live, physical activities is something that makes, like, when I go to the gym, I don't feel like I'm paralyzed. The one place where I feel like I'm normal. And the older I get, the more mature men get, you kind of just stop caring what other people think. But back then, when you're young, you kind of care what everybody else thinks of you, and that's just something that you lose. You care less over time. But I was 23 back then, so 23 to 25, I think I was 23, 24, 23, 25. I think I was living with my parents, and then I moved. Then I started doing well enough with the advertising stuff that I moved to a place called downtown Sarasota. And because I used to bartend down there, so I thought, well, I know everybody down here. I'm not like technically leaving where like I'm at. I know everybody here. I'll just go downtown. I have a great time. I didn't talk to anybody I knew. I didn't go downtown one time when I was there. I hated it. And I moved down there because I was like, well, if I get away from home, I'll be able to focus on business. And I know people over there. I'll just go and hang out with them, and then things are going to be great. The business side was great, but I still went to the gym down there, but like I never went downtown one time. So I moved back to Lakewood Ranch into an apartment on State Road 70. Now, you're not going to know where that is, but that was a lot closer, about 5 minutes away from my parents, and all my friends was like within like a 10-minute radius of me. So whenever I needed something, I could get the help I needed. And as men, a lot of men don't know how to put their ego aside, so they won't ask for help even if they need it. I am not afraid to ask somebody for help, dude. I literally, in the gym, when I started working with a personal trainer, if I had to get on a machine, I would quite literally have Brendan pick me up out of my wheelchair in front of a whole gym and put me on that machine because I wanted to use it. I could care less. And this, again, the older you get, the less you care. So the whole time where I'm going with this story is, I live in a house now, so I'm just going to skip the other 5 years because it's all just the same. It all kind of like blends. The whole time, why I think like the positive approach is listen to the way that I'm talking to the camera right now. Listen to my attitude. This is just the energy I give off. And this is why I mentioned, would you rather be with somebody that's like depressed or somebody like myself that smile, that's happy, that's very inviting. And I've always been this way. I'm not going to let what stop me like this. My life was taken from me. I didn't choose to do this. It was taken from me. So if I didn't have, this wasn't a choice of mine, I got to live with it. No, I'm going to be alive for a long time. I'm only 30. My life's not halfway over yet. I got like 5 years on me. So I got to make do with what I have. And if I continue living every day just miserable and depressed and, oh, poor me, no one's going to want to be with me. Girls aren't going to want to talk to me. Guys, they're not going to want to talk to me. Nobody wants to be around depressing people. So throughout this entire time, I've always had this exact same attitude, but I've always been somebody that has, that like understands like self-development. And I mean, that's what I do, is like I help men understand women. I'm still part of the self-development game, because for my life personally, and this is going to sound really cocky saying this, but in the sake of this video, this is important. The older I get, the better looking I get, the more confident I get, the richer I get, the stronger I get. Confident, if I didn't already say that, I just become a better version of Mitchell. Why would I want to, like, once you start hitting new levels, you don't want to stop. You don't want to just go back down. And if I did go back down for another unforsaken event, I can get back to there. But the positive side is, again, like I read books, I watch videos, I take courses, I go out of my way now to talk to people. I'm very social, and so I've always been that way though. So I don't necessarily know if like if I had to develop into this person. But once the first stage of denial, or the first stage of grief, is denial, and then the last stage is acceptance. So like when you get broken up with, for example, when you're losing a part of you, that guy or girl is the best thing that ever happened to you, even if the relationship wasn't, because you're forced in a process of grief. You're denying that you got broken up with. But once you accept it, that this is what life is, then you can move on from that. And I accepted the fact that I was paralyzed while I was still in the hospital. And I haven't now, I do want to say that there are times where, like, if I make jokes about, like, if God calls me home, just make sure my dog's taken care of. That's not a joke. I do not want to be paralyzed. So if it happens, it happens. I'll make jokes about getting hit by a car again, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go out and wait to like just kill myself. Dude, like, my life's awesome. But that's just my dark statistic humor coming out. So if you're somebody watching this right now and you're in a similar situation, make fun of people that have similar conditions like you. It's great. We love it. I hate when people are too nice to me. I love when people make fun of me, because when I get made fun of, it makes me feel like I'm not being looked at as less of a human. I'm still human. People open doors for me. I used to go through this whole fit. I'm like, no, I can get it. Thank you. I even practice opening doors for girls now. Ladies, here, I get the door for you. You know how difficult that is in a wheelchair when you gotta like stop yourself and hold the door open at the same time? But I can do it. Why? Because I'm a gentleman and I love life and I love people. And I know I'm going off on a rant right now, but this is, you can tell I'm very passionate about this when it comes to like just being in a good mood. I'm gonna end this story here by just saying again, what's more important to you guys watching this right now? Being depressed and miserable, hating your life, thinking, poor me, nothing's gonna get better, or accepting the fact that your life's not going to get better unless you go and make it better. My condition's never going to change. But as I just said, I'm better looking, I'm stronger, I'm fitter, I'm healthier, I'm richer. I've got people being in a wheelchair thinks like, oh, getting a girlfriend's got to be difficult. That has been the opposite, because women don't care that much for that. It's just how you project confidence. So that's why I'm asking you, what's more important for you guys watching this video? Having your life stay miserable, or making it the best you can be? Okay, I'm gonna end my rant there.
Nice answer. Thank you. The next one, I feel like you kind of just answered it, so I'm gonna ask it anyway. And if you have anything else to add, go for it. It says, "Can you please?" Oh, never mind. It says, "Where did you find your strength to get past your challenges?" I feel like you kind of just answered
I was
that.
I was actually asked that in the gym today by the guy that I was on a podcast with yesterday. He asked me the same thing. And I said, I don't have an answer for you other than the fact that, and I said, I think I said the same thing verbatim. Would you rather talk to somebody that's miserable and depressed, that's choosing to live life in the past, saying, poor me, or would you want to be with somebody that's like happy and approachable? And he asked me that question. He was like, you don't talk about your past often, do you? And I was like, no. And he goes, why not? Because people should hear it. And I said, and I agree. People who do watch this should hear it so they can see that someone like myself has made life as best as it can be. But I don't like talking about it, because if I choose to live in the past where I was, dying and depressed, I'm gonna constantly be thinking about that. I'm gonna become miserable and depressed. Like I just told you, if I didn't say it already, I'll say it now. Like if I'm around somebody and they're in a bad mood, like if I'm talking to a girl and she just complains and argues with me and stuff all the time, kick rocks. On to the next one. I don't have time for that. I do not like being around people because, again, you're the average of the 5 people you're around. You're average of the 5 people you're friends with. So when he asked me that question, why don't you talk about this more? I don't personally talk about it unless I'm asked about it, just simply because I don't want to live in the past when I've seen that when I've continued to move forward, my life has gotten better and better and better and better. And I even say this in my YouTube videos, my life since every single year, it gets better and better and better. You think a 30-year-old guy in a wheelchair would have help? I live in a brand new house by myself. Nobody helps me. I do everything myself. I had help in the past. I don't want it because I don't need it. And if I do need it, I'll just pay somebody to come over and do it for me. But I wouldn't have gotten to this point. I would still be like on, okay, well, I don't say that because there are loopholes. But if I just lived on Social Security alone, I would still be at home with my parents. And I'm not. Okay. I didn't know where I was going with that, so I'm going to end it here because
What was your biggest obstacle to overcome in your journey to embrace the new you?
I think the biggest obstacle was not having the information that I needed from other people in my similar situation to learn how to do things like in an effective way. There was a guy that when I taught myself how to get in a car, or there was a guy that has the same, not like the same injury, but like one level lower, but he doesn't have the high, because as when you're paralyzed, the higher your injury, the less you have. Mine starts in the neck, which is why I'm considered quadriplegic. And from a business point of view, to explain what I'm going to say is when you can successfully leave clues. So if I want to do something and I don't know how to do it, I'm just going to go and find somebody that's already done it and ask him how to do it. However, with the extent of my injury, I was not able to find anybody online that had the same type of injury that I had. So what works for somebody else that's paralyzed, I had to modify it in a way, but I had to teach myself that. So my biggest hurdle was the amount of time it took for me to learn how to do all this on my own. So like occupational therapy in the hospital was they had to teach you how to get dressed and shower. I hated that because I was in a hospital bed. Now I have bars on both sides of my bed. So when I put my shorts on, I just fold over, I pull them up, and I use those bars to lean to the side. I didn't have that in the hospital. And if I did, I didn't have enough space to like maneuver my body. So I taught everything myself. I taught everything that I do now myself, but the hurdle was I didn't have a method of teaching me that would have fast-tracked that, for lack of better words. Everything takes a lot longer than you want it to take unless you have somebody else that can teach you how it's done. I didn't, and if I stopped, I would have never learned how to do it. I think it took me, oh my God, I think like a couple weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I even like taught myself how to like effectively get my wheelchair at the time in the car. And then I went from the 3 Series to an M4 competition, a literal race car that was a 2-door. So when you have a 4-door car and a 2-door car, the 2-door car opens up wider. So the way I get into and I have a 4-door Benz now, the way I get into a 4-door is different than the way I have to get into a 2-door. Because again, I don't have enough space to manipulate my wheelchair like I did when I had the race car. I had to teach myself how to do that. So that was my biggest hurdle, is not having the information available. But in today's day and age with the internet, you have YouTube, you really have no excuse not to at least look for examples on where you can start on how to fix it.
Awesome. What advice can you give to others who are also facing their own challenges?
If you don't think your life's going to get better, if you don't look for ways to make your life better, and you don't, like if you look for ways to make your life better, and you find something that might be able to help you, if you don't practice that, your life's never going to get better. So I guess my advice would just be like, if you think your life sucks right now, just know from a guy in a wheelchair, it can always get better. But you have to be willing to look for the information that can potentially help you and practice doing that until you find a way that you can make it like your own. But coming from one guy to whoever's watching this, your life's not going to get better if you choose not to make it better. If you just live in that poor me mindset that a lot of guys that come to me for help live in, you're doomed. Then you have every right to be upset and depressed. But look at my story. I went out and I did the work. You can too.
Thank you. Which ETNU design resonates with you and why?
So I chose the Phoenix. And the reason why I chose the Phoenix is because right now I'm playing Final Fantasy 16, and Joseph is the dominant, which is a Phoenix. It's just a big creature. Also, I don't know, like a rising bird. I don't really have like a way that I can, actually I do. I think with the Phoenix, it's like a bird that can be looked at as like a level of like, I don't want to say luxury, but I think there's like stories, if I'm not mistaken, that like if we look at the video game I'm playing, like the brother is a Phoenix, but the kid started off as a kid, and then the older he gets, now he's like saving people and helping people, or like his brother is now, he was on a mission to save his brother, but now he wants people to live and die on their own. And the Phoenix, if actually I could relate that, the Phoenix is just my way of being like, listen, if this bird can want to help and save other people, that's exactly why I'm doing it. Filming a video for you guys right now. This is why I coach men for a living, so I can help other men avoid the mistakes I've made with women and have better relationships. Because I've been there, been heartbroken for it, sucks, and I wanted this because it was, I don't know, I thought it was manly, and there are folklores. I know I can't cite the specific one I'm trying to think of right now, but I know there are folklores that you can look at for the Phoenix that does talk about like the rising sun, or like saving or helping people, and I try to use a video game to explain what's going through my head. So if this makes sense for you guys watching it, that's it.
And the last question, how has the mantra "Embrace the New You" inspired you?
Just makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing with work and just help people. It's just, because I personally think like this mantra, "Embrace the New You," it's because I've always been someone of like consistent change. When I see guys that come to me that either want to know how to get their ex back, or they're too scared to go and approach a girl they don't know, when I see these guys come to me like looking for help, and I teach them what to do to get the result that they want, and I can see a totally different man. I tell people all the time, dude, I'm like, I can literally teach you the skills you need to be able to get the girl that you want and be in a relationship with the girl that's going to treat you the right way that you want. And when that happens, when men come to me for that, and even then, like a lot of girls that watch my channel, I would say 99% of females that watch my channel love what I teach. And you get that 1% of haters that don't, but yet those girls still watch my stuff, which tells me they like it. So, and why, this is what I'm very passionate about. It's just, again, because when I can help somebody become a more improved version of themselves, people for the most part don't change, but they can become better versions of themselves. I am living proof of that. And when I help other men, specifically for my sake in business, become like, when you see someone that just like that, when I get like, dude, Mitchell, I seriously, thank you so much for that. That dude, the strings that pulls when you hear that. That's why I think that's what, I don't know if I answered that question or not, I'm blanking right now, but
You did.
me just helping people in general, it's just heckin' awesome. It just feels so good.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you so much for answering the question
You're welcome.
and being our spotlight.